Felipe told everybody, I like sleeping with a bunch of women. Sir, did you know this was Married at First Sight, or did you think this was Love Island? Welcome in or welcome back to That's So Trending. My name is Bo. We talk all things reality TV and pop culture around here. Guys, if you enjoy these takes, make sure that you guys hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications. Let's hop into Married at First Sight, season 20, episode 12. So we're hopping in where we left off at the end of episode 10 at this couple's dinner, and the group finally tells Adam, hey, your expectations are not normal. Cameron really laid into him because if you're gonna have kids, why do you think you can go to the pickleball court 3 hours a day? And Adam, in his very unserious way, jokes and says, I'm gonna go 6 hours a day because all three will need 2 hours of training. And I really didn't think it was funny because I kind of thought it was dismissive. Really and truly, his only appropriate response here would have been to say, I'm sorry to Marissa that I did not make room for you to take up space in this relationship. But of course, that would have been too modest. Mecca chimed in to let Adam know it's unnatural that we know you love jet skis and pickleball and all your hobbies, but I know nothing about Marissa. And they even asked him if he's willing to do more of what Marissa likes to do. And Adam had no answer because I don't think he cares to learn about anybody else other than himself and what he wants to do. For me, the bigger question is, can Adam slow down long enough to cultivate an actual connection with Marissa, one that's based on both of their interests? And honestly, I think the answer is going to be no to that as well. I think Adam just needs a life of solitude with him and his hobbies because he doesn't know how to make space for anybody else. Tori and Felipe are up next, and that's just a hot mess of a situation. Poor Tori. Free my girl Tori. So Felipe opens up and says that his issues have nothing to do with Tori. They have everything to do with the fact that he misses the streets. They are calling his name. And he would rather be out there with other women than to be tied down and married. This man goes on a tangent about how he wishes he was single even when he's just in the grocery store. He's thinking about being single when he's walking down the street. He can't stand being married. And Paul says, I don't think this is the correct forum. You are absolutely right, Paul. This is not the correct space to go on this tangent. Then Felipe lets out this revelation that if somebody asked him if he could stay married, he would say no. Tori's sitting there straight faced like ain't nothing going on. Tori girl, you know you heard him. You need to get up, pack your bags, and get gone. This man don't like you. And it is crazy that you're choosing to sit next to him at this point. I'm not liking this for Tori at all because she seems like a really sweet person and she deserves better than Felipe can give her right now. So then the guys chime in and ask him, why even get married then? If you don't feel like this is right for you, you missed the streets. His answer is I get lonely. Being lonely and being ready for marriage are not the same thing. And I need Felipe to understand that's a lot of work that he needs to do on himself to understand what he really wants out of life. Because singlehood is not the problem. You can have a fulfilled, beautiful life and not be lonely if you're a decent person with family and friends that actually want to be around you. So Tori's whole response to all of this was, I'm secure in who I am. I'm not taking on any of his stuff. That's work he needs to do on himself. But girl, that's your husband. You sleeping in bed next to him every night and you're letting him disrespect you publicly in such a way. This is when Felipe says something absolutely vile. He says, I like sleeping with a bunch of women. And that's when production should have been called to take her mic off and send her home. Because clearly this man is a joke and he takes marriage as a joke. End of discussion, Tori. You don't deserve this. And then Felipe says he's not scared of monogamy. He just doesn't want it. If you don't want it, go be with the other women. What is wrong with you, Felipe? The messaging that you're giving us right now does not even correlate. Cameron calls him and says, listen, you're not Peter Pan. You're getting older. Women aren't always going to be attracted to you. The fact that he thinks women are attracted to him now. But Dr. Paz also says this is self-sabotage, which I agree with. Something else I have to point out, because Felipe was wrong this whole entire conversation. Him saying that if I can fall in love before decision day, I'll be fine. Decision day does not make you a good husband magically. It does not make you a good and compassionate human to your partner. And I feel like he's putting too much weight on the passion and falling in love and all these emotions. We got to get into Mecca and Bel Jolie. Of course, my man was coming at this dinner because they had to let everybody know that they were feeling some type of way and attacked the last time that they had a group therapy session and BelleJolie stood up for her man. The experts were very excited to see that because it does show a certain level of depth in their relationship, that she's standing up for him, saying he's not performative. That's just who Mecca is here and at home. Michelle does apologize, and that meant a lot to Mecca. I'm not sure why he's so obsessed with how Michelle in particular sees him, because he says the experts and Michelle saying that really stood out to him. And this validates what I've been saying, if you guys have watched my other videos, is that some people are just loud and exaggerated. That doesn't mean that they're performing, because performances are intentional. You're putting on for an audience. Whereas when you're naturally just over the top, especially when Mecca gets a drink in his hand, that's very, very different. And we're not talking about the same things. Next, we have Nick and Courtney. Y'all know it's gonna be some mess every time we talk about Nick and Courtney. Courtney tells us about the changes she's making to make Nick happier in their marriage. At first, it started off fine because Nick was telling her, oh, I appreciate you hugging me before you leave the house. And he was complimenting her and doting on her. But then Paul noticed the obvious. Courtney is not doting on Nick in the same way. And it would be nice to hear her say something kind about Nick and their relationship right now and how they're progressing. But of course, that's not Courtney. That's not her style. She's mean. She's not gonna say anything nice just to say it. And then it takes a turn before she even gets defensive, and she says that I've started kissing him. It's not something I need, but it's something he needs, so I do it for him. Nobody wants to feel like you're forcing intimacy with them, girl. It's almost as if you're saying you're forcing me to do this, and that's not what you want to hear at all. So Caitlin on the other end of the table, because you know they homegirls, two peas in a pod that don't like the men that they're with. And she's like, well, we might have to get coffee so we can talk about how I can do something like that. And I said, girl, you do not need to take advice from Courtney. Better go to the experts, email them, call them, send them a text message, anything. Do not go to Courtney for advice about anything. Mecca says, I'm just surprised. I don't see any chemistry coming from you, Courtney. You actually sat at the birthday dinner with your back towards Nick the whole time, and that sets Courtney off. In her confessional, she says that I went into defense mode because people were acting like I wasn't doing anything to make changes, because what has he done? And when she said that, the table was in shock, because why did you turn on Nick when Mecca was the one that said something? And she could have just simply asked, what's Nick been doing? Have y'all asked Nick that? But she didn't. And she made an accusation that he wasn't doing anything in this relationship to be helpful to seeing them progress. But she does catch herself and she says, oh, that's the old me. And that wasn't very nice. But the problem is, once you say it, you can't take it back. And so now he knows you don't want to kiss him. You're only doing this for him. You don't care about making that physical connection with him. And on top of that, you're counting every one of those as I'm doing something for him. And I don't think he's making enough sacrifices for me. And it feels very tit for tat with her. So they agree to talk later, and we just button it up right there because that was going nowhere productive. Then we have to talk about Michelle and Cameron. There's not much to say here. These two are just lovely to watch. They're progressing. Things are going great. And Michelle and Cameron are actually the healthy marriages that we want to see on Peacock. So I don't know if they're listening, but please give us more of Michelle and Cameron moving forward. Next, we have Devin and Caitlin. Devin is honest. He says, I'm not getting what I need. Caitlin is not receptive. Does that surprise us though? I feel like Caitlin's never receptive to feedback. But let's talk about it. Devin says Caitlin's not progressing at the pace that I would like her to. Caitlin goes to cutting him off. Why is everything so negative? I feel like you're just attacking me. And I don't know why she can't just let Devin speak, but this is his truth. So for her, it feels as if you say anything negative about her, then you're just choosing to nitpick. That's not true. These are big issues for him in the same way that your space is a big issue for you. Meanwhile, Paul and Lisa are watching from the other room, and they're excited to actually see him show up in his relationship with demands and requests of his partner. Devin, you are an equal partner in this relationship. Yes, you do get a say. I 100% agree. He has been silent, or at least very passive, in my opinion, for way too long with Caitlin. this does need to progress past where it's at, because I'm watching it from just the TV screen and it seems very, very cold. For Devin, I feel like he's asking for crumbs. Devin literally said, we went dancing and I just wanted my wife to see me. Her response, were you dancing to have fun or were you doing it for me? He said, no, but I want you to give me something. Caitlin, girl, I need you to clock in. This is a marriage. You got to give a little bit. You got to give some type of energy, some type of feedback. He wants to have fun with his wife sometimes. All he's asking for is shoulder shimmy or something. And you can't even meet the man there. That's the issue, my girl. You don't see that when you lack effort, it makes him not want to give effort, and it's cyclical. You two have to give each other energy. For me, it was very telling. After he explicitly stated what he needed, her response was, that's jarring. It feels negative. She's still responding to the issue rather than actually trying to find a solution. You have to let go of these personal feelings around criticism and actually hear it, take it in, and do something about it. Devin's next request makes me think that a lot of the wives are in the same boat right now and hitting a Caitlin even if they didn't know they were. So you've got Caitlin on this side making him fight to show up as her husband and be her safe space. That's literally all he requested. I want to be your first priority. I want you to allow me to love you. And he said that a couple of times. And because she's so distant, she can't allow that to happen. And some of the wives I've noticed, they're making their husbands audition for them instead of just acknowledging they already have the role. And so now we just have to see what they do with that role, giving them some creative freedom to see if it's a disaster or if it actually works. Instead, they're being so standoffish that they're pushing away all of the positive aspects of marriage in the meantime. And if you thought that Devin and Caitlin fight was going to end there, you would be wrong. On the car ride home, we get into more of it. Caitlin says, I feel so difficult to love right now. Devin says, it kind of feels that way. And I'm so glad he said it, because I don't know who else was going to tell her. You make yourself hard to love. You make it hard for anybody to get close enough to you, to love on you, and to be able to reciprocate kindness towards you. She also changes the argument. So now it goes away from how she's feeling to the fact that he doesn't list anything positive about their relationship. And I think that this is another way to derail the conversation from her wrongdoings and putting the blame back on him, because he made a valid point. This just is unrelated. We can talk about that later, but it is fair that he has criticisms of his marriage. Devin says that he doesn't want just affection or kindness on screen. He also wants a wife off screen. So she brings up the one time they seem to have had fun, which was at some type of festival, and they both remember it as their favorite moment, but there were no cameras. So I'm like, are there more occasions like this, or is this just the one that you guys share? Because I think there should be more moments like that outside of just that festival that you can recall together that brought you joy. I think the line that bothers me most from her was her saying, if you only want to focus on the negative things, then we're going to stay in the stagnant waters forever. And to me, that felt emotionally manipulative. It is a way to tell him to shut up without telling him to shut up. It is a way to tell Devin, I don't want to hear anything else negative from you. And if I do, X is your punishment, which for her means we're not going to progress in this relationship. And I hate that for him. I hate that he is being manipulated into silence in order to stay with her. I'm so happy that Devin actually named the thing though. And him saying to her, this rejection that I feel from you, it's different from anything else I've ever experienced. And that is their entire relationship. It is Devin getting shut down or rejected at every turn and seeing little to no progress. And I want to further prove my point about Mecca not being performative. He gets a little tipsy. When him and BelleJolie get back to their apartment, you hear Mecca go into this very preachy tone. He wants to give advice. He wants to seem deep and philosophical. I know these men. When he drinks, Mecca is not performative. He is actually just lit. That's who he is, and that's what BelleJolie means. I'm sure she's seen him drink when the cameras are off and says the same thing. Go to bed, please. So then we have Shawn and Nikki. Shawn's house is up first. It is in Bremerton. I don't know much, but from everything I've heard, that is not the nicest side of Seattle. So interesting that he lives there. I'm guessing it's because the college he works at may be near his home. It's a bachelor pad. Nothing fancy, nothing too nice. And you know, he's proud of his home, as he should be. His wife, Nikki, was a little surprised that it wasn't as decorated as she expected, or as sophisticated or intentional in the design. And I think that's also natural. Whenever you go to a man's house, you're not gonna be wowed, usually. I do want to point out that she picked up a book that Shawn had written. So apparently he's been an author or trying to become an author for a long time. So we shouldn't be as surprised that he has a relationship guidebook out now. So we go into Nikki's house and it's like night and day. Her home is beautifully decorated. She's got rugs from India that she brought back. She's got things from West Elm. The design and the concept and layout are very clear. She's been very intentional with her space. Her home is actually beautiful. And I think where Shawn loses the audience is he does this thing that men will do sometimes, where men will sometimes want to humble women who make a lot of money, and they'll say things like, "Oh, I'm so proud of you," but that backhanded compliment is followed with something like, "Oh, I've got bougie friends and their places are just as nice," or "I've been in nicer places. Oh, I would never have this laid out like this." Sir, you don't own your home. And on top of that, yours isn't decorated at all. Knowing bougie people doesn't make you bougie. And when he goes into her bedroom, I thought it was interesting that he laid on her nice, very expensive bed, talking about, "Oh, we're the same type of bougie." No, we're not. No, we're not. Nikki is giving very much "I'm that girl" in her home. And she's curated this space to be something that works for her intentionally, and you just haven't. So just admit that and move on. But the best part of all of this was at the end of the tour, Nikki says, you know, she thinks that their differences are actually interesting and that they can learn to grow from them, but she wants to see if the emotional connection can come. So at this point, compatibility is not the issue. It's actually connection. And that's what they're waiting to see grow. Dr. Lisa has Adam and Marissa come in for a session. And they get to the bottom of why Adam is at a level 10 all the time, because that boy is a lot to handle. And Marissa says that my first bad day was Adam's dream day. He loved it. I hated it. Which is very telling about these two. Dr. Lisa asks him straight up, why does everything have to be at a level 10 for you? Adam then states that he's always been all in, right? His parents made him do Eagle Scouts and they made him play piano regularly, 13, 14 years of practicing classical piano. He hid a lot of that. So now he chooses to live out loud. He doesn't want to feel shame. He doesn't want to feel like he's hiding parts of himself. So he's all in on everything that he does now. On the opposite end, Marissa talks about the fact that she's lived with anxiety since childhood, and that in relationships, that anxiety causes her to want to people please and not really express herself in the relationship. And she doesn't want to lose herself again. And Dr. Lisa makes sure to say, no, absolutely not. And then Adam chimes in and says, I wouldn't let her. Adam, you've already let her. This has been going on for so long that you don't even realize, you don't even check in with your wife to see what she wants or needs from you. You don't ask her what her preferences are. You just do things and hope she comes along. That is not creating a life with someone. That is actually setting a lifestyle for them. Nobody wants to feel obligated. It should be mutual interest that leads y'all to make certain decisions in your marriage. He doesn't get that concept. I think part of what's driving Marissa's anxiety is hearing that he has a past girlfriend that could keep up with him and that never wanted to sit down. And it does worry her that Adam will lose interest. Let him lose the interest in girl. Because at this point, this is obnoxious that you have to go through this. 65 miles an hour on a jet ski and then to go play pickleball right after? Absolutely not. Let him go. Let him go. I can see right now you hit that wave too hard, your back messed up for life. Absolutely not. Then Dr. Lisa puts a name on what they're going through, which is the lack of fluidity in Adam's life, and it's causing a lot of rigidity for Marissa and the expectations that he has of her. And she asks him, would you be okay with changing your lifestyle? He said, I'd not be 100% satisfied, no. And that's the honest truth. For some people, they're not meant to compromise in relationships. They're meant to be single. They're meant to live their best life. Honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. But we do have to be honest with ourselves about what we want to choose, so we don't go around trying to fit people into little boxes that fit neatly into our lives and just pulling them off a shelf when we're ready for them to do stuff with us. That's not fair to them. Tori and Felipe are having another contentious moment at their home. Tori's shocked at Felipe's confession that he might cheat. Tori does not want to give that type of energy, time, and space because she has other things going on in her life. She's a busy woman. She's creating space between them as a smarter route to not have to invest so much energy into it, because I don't think she understands why Felipe is here either. Why do this if you don't want to invest time and energy and actually commit? I love that Tori's just over it and she's choosing to opt out of trying to make him feel emotionally safe enough to choose her, because that's not her job. You chose this process, so inherently you are choosing Tori. And truth be told, you can't love somebody into wanting the same lifestyle as you. He wants to be non-monogamous. He wants to have fun. He wants to be in the streets. So let him. So here's where I think everybody stands. Cameron and Michelle are obvious yes. BelleJolie and Mecca are yes at this point. Nikki and Shawn are undecided, because I do think that there's a lot that Shawn and Nikki will need to work on in order to have connection that both of them actually wants in a marriage. Adam and Marissa should be a no. Marissa is great. Adam is a red flag for me. Just tons of red flags. Nick and Courtney are definite no. I don't think y'all should even be friends. Just move on. Devin needs to leave Caitlin immediately. This ain't gonna work. I don't think she's really ready for this type of commitment and the changes required to make this commitment work. Tori and Felipe, please let that man go back to the streets. Immediately back to the streets, because we're done with this Tori. All right, you guys, I'm done with episode 12. Felipe exhausted me. Adam is just weirding me out every time I see him. If you guys enjoyed hanging out with me, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Also, make sure you turn on your notifications, and I'll see you guys for the next one.